This is the Axor Arms FS Elite semi-auto shotgun. This is a shotgun from Turkey, so already a lot of you are completely checked out, and I understand. But this one has impressed me a lot. I really like this shotgun, and it's not even because of the gimmick that it holds. So, let's get into the features of the shotgun, what makes it unique. Well, this is a folding shotgun. So, even though I said semi-automatic, and you notice it has a little tang like you would have on a break action, well, all you have to do is push it off to the side, open up the latch, and now you have a folding shotgun. As you can see, it folds down into this package. Now, for some people, this is completely useless. For others, it's very useful. You're not really creating more space, you're just creating different kinds of space. If you don't want to have a super long case, you can now fit this into a more compact case, but it will have to be wider. So there's kinds of trade-offs, but this folding feature, in my opinion, is not actually that useful, except in one specific instance, which we'll get into. So let's start at the front. You have a fiber optic front sight, and you have your magazine tube, which functions just like any normal Turkish shotgun does with, this end cap and all that. Your handguard is made of, I believe, Turkish walnut. It has very nice stippling. This is actually really comfortable to hold. It looks chunkier than it actually is. This shotgun seems like it's really chunky, but it's actually not as chunky as it looks. It's still not slim, but perfectly usable, especially if you have medium to big sized hands. And up top, we have a genuine EOTech holographic sight. This is the EXPS2, I believe it is, and it's not the highest end one, but it's good enough for my applications. I'm going to be using this EOTech on basically all of my shotgun reviews that have pick rails, simply because I know it's for sure not going to break, and I actually really like the reticle for shotguns. I did use this in trap shooting. We'll get more into the performance of it later. Now for iron sights, you can see them here. They're actually pistol style iron sights. So instead of a ghost ring or instead of just the bead up front, you have pistol style iron sights where you line up the two dots at the back with the dot at the front and you use them. That's not a bad idea if you're using this in like a competition, for example, but that's not great for trap shooting in my opinion. For trap shooting, you want either a lone bead up front with super low bore axis, or you want an optic. Now at the back, you have your safety. It is a simple crossbolt safety. I wish it was at the front, just because that's my personal preference, and the trigger is actually pretty nice. It's a curved trigger, it feels good, and it's pretty light. It's not the crispest thing in the world, but it does still feel pretty decent, and you're not going to have any trouble, shooting at a target in the air or on the ground or whatever. It's actually pretty nice. Now, the stock is the same as the handguard walnut with the really nice checkering. Now, I did put this cheek riser on the back, and that's because the stock is meant to work with either very low profile optics or the iron sights. And well, the EOTech is maybe the furthest thing from a low profile optic. So I kind of had to use this, but this worked really well and it was pretty comfortable to shoot. Now in terms of the butt pad, you have a kind of soft rubber butt pad, but it's not very thick, but it's not necessary. This is a really pleasant shotgun to shoot. It doesn't beat up your shoulder at all, and I didn't feel like I needed to use a limb saver or anything. This is more than good enough. I was actually quite surprised by that. Now finishing up on the controls, you have your charging handle that's attached to the bolt here, and you have your bolt release. Now this bolt release, when I first got the shotgun, was quite stiff, but over the time of this review, it has lightened up considerably and is much easier to press now. Now, I want to talk about next is the best way to use this shotgun. This shotgun, if you're using it loading singles on trap, obviously you're just going to load into the chamber and press the release. Easy. Okay, but what about if you're using more than a single round for whatever competition or game you're playing? Well, that's where this thing really shines. This shotgun is the easiest ghost loading shotgun in the entire world. It is so nice to use. All you have to do is load one into the chamber, close it up, and then open the action like this. Now, it's a bit hard to show on camera the way that my setup is working, but essentially what you're going to do is you're just going to feed the tube directly. You can feed it straight from here. Again, there is one loaded in the chamber, so please make sure that your muzzle is pointed in a safe direction at all times. It's not very difficult to do. You can easily just hold the fore end and point it at the ground in a safe direction, but make sure you do that. Load up the tube, and then all you have to do to ghost load it is simply place your round right on the follower and close it. And that's it. Now you have a ghost loaded shotgun. Now let's say you're doing doubles, or you're doing skeet shooting or some other kind of shotgun game where you have 2 shells instead of just the one. Well, load one into the chamber, open up the action, place one on the follower gate, close it. You don't even need to use the loading gate at the bottom. In fact, in my testing, I only used the loading gate a single time to test it because it was completely pointless to do it otherwise, since it's so much easier to just open up the breech of the shotgun and load it. And in terms of performance, how did it do? Well, I only had 2 malfunctions while testing this, and both of them were the first 2 shots that came with it. There was essentially just a break-in period, I guess, because I didn't have a single malfunction of any kind or even close to it for the rest of my testing. Literally just the first 2 shots, and it worked flawlessly. And how was it to use? It was really, really nice to use. Using it on the range, it was very soft recoiling. Not as soft recoiling as, say, an inertia-driven system, but it was really close. It kind of feels like a video game gun, but in the best way, in that sometimes you'll come across a video game gun that makes no sense, right? Like a break action with 2 barrels and you just shoot like 18 rounds out of it, right? It doesn't make sense. But with this one, you're using it like a break action, but shooting it like a semi-auto. It's the best of both worlds. It's super fun to use. And on the trap range using this thing, that's where the EOTech kind of let me down a bit. I was able to get, I think, 14-ish with this, which is nowhere close to my best. My best is somewhere in like 20 or 21. But that's almost entirely down to the EOTech, not the gun itself. Using an EOTech for trap shooting is a interesting experiment, simply because the housing is so large, you will very often lose the clay, and you'll have to quickly find it somewhere in your eye box. And that happened on almost every try, especially on the corners. But if you were to put a open optic on this, like a micro dot or something like that, you'd have a much better time trap shooting with this thing. So who is this shotgun for? Well, because it's a pretty decent shotgun overall, it can really be used for any shotgun application, although I think it does some better than others. For example, yes, this can be used in trap shooting, and I think you can get a decent score with it, but you're gonna have to put a decent dot on it because I don't think the iron sights are gonna be perfect for it. And it's also not a longer barrel, so you're gonna be putting yourself at a slight disadvantage. But it is perfectly doable, and if you just wanna have some fun, this is great for it. And the same kind of applies to bird hunting. It's basically the exact same critiques. You're probably going to want a better dot on this, or something with less housing, and you are going to lose a tiny bit of performance just from not having a longer barrel, but it is perfectly usable for duck hunting or bird hunting or whatever you want. It does come with a hunting plug. I forgot to mention that. It does come with a hunting plug, so you can use it for that. But I think its best use is at the range in competition. This is maybe the perfect entry-level competition shotgun. Being able to ghost load so easily is really helpful for competition shooting, and it's really pleasant to shoot, so you're not going to throw out your shoulder if you're going to do a bunch of runs in a day, or if you're practicing with it for your competitions. Now, if you're interested, it does come in a tactical version where it has some polymer furniture instead with some M-Lock. That's perfectly fine. I just went with the walnut one because I think this one actually looks better. But yeah, any range use, if you're using for any competitions, this thing would be great for, and it doesn't break the bank. It's a very affordable shotgun, and in my use case has been a very performative shotgun. I am very impressed with it. So that is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I have more gun reviews coming soon. I have another one coming next week, so keep an eye out for that. Like, subscribe, and all that, and have a good day.